Now we would like to return to our speaker for our traditional City Club question and answer period. We welcome questions from everyone, including guests. Holding the microphones today are City Club Operations Assistant Micah Tadashi and Intern Kim Leary. And we'll have our first question, please.
Okay. Mr. Pope, I'd like to thank you for coming to Cleveland. And as a teacher, I'd like to ask you a question. It's basically, if you were speaking to a classroom right now, the green world that you described as a utopian society, but it has to be discovered, it has to be invented. How would you motivate a classroom or a hall full of students to actually study biology, physics, and the other science that is required to develop such a society?
I mean, first, I'm not a teacher, so I'm going to defer to your undoubtedly greater experience and wisdom, but what I do, just because I find teaching class a really amazingly difficult thing to do when I do it. And I have tremendous respect for teachers because I'm always exhausted at the end of an hour. So what I do, frankly, just to keep my energy level up, is I like to tell students about cool stuff they'll be able to do. If students understand, for example, that the next century is going to be about using plants to make the stuff we use in our houses, if they understood about green chemistry, I think biology would be a lot more interesting. If people understood that learning about is it Boyle's law? What's the law about somebody help me, the laws about the compression of gases? Okay, Boyle's law. That Boyle's law explains why when Ratan Tata releases his compressed air car, it's going to be particularly attractive in the Indian market because it's going to be automatically air conditioned by the expanding compressed air. That sort of makes Boyle's laws, I think, much more interesting. So I try to tie it in to cool stuff and toys because the young love cool stuff and toys. That's how I would get through the class, at least.
Yes, I've heard this question tried to have been answered before. But insofar as global warming is concerned, how do you explain the fact that at the end of the last ice age, the global warming was faster than we have now, with not one iota of man-made ingredients of any kind?
It is certainly true that over the millennia, there are large climate cycles caused by natural forces which would be very devastating for human civilization. We cannot guarantee that there will not at some point be a natural cycle which will cause the glaciers to return to Cleveland. This would be a much less comfortable lunch if we had a mile of ice sitting on top of us. So the fact that there are very extreme natural climatic cycles is not good news, but fortunately they come rather slowly. Global warming is the result of our introducing into the atmosphere exactly the same conditions which have historically produced great heatings. We are changing the atmosphere in ways which in previous millennia caused major atmospheric changes. We do not know exactly how fast it's going to happen, and we do not know exactly what the regional impacts will be. That is not reassuring to me. If I knew how the climate was going to change, I could get ready for it. If all I know is that the climate is going to get less predictable. And let me give you a metaphor to understand. Imagine you've got a pot of spaghetti, and you've got it simmering. And occasionally, it spatters out. Turn up the heat. It starts boiling. There's going to be a lot more spattering. It's going to be a lot more violent. It's going to be a lot more chaotic in the pot. Now, it is true, you will not know which of the globs of hot spaghetti that land on your hands were caused by the fact that you turned up the heat, and which of them would have happened anyway. But you know that which you don't like, which is an extreme, it is extreme weather we don't like. We know that as we increase the amount of free energy in the atmosphere by increasing the amount of radiant heat that is absorbed, we're going to increase the violence globally of the weather. And we know that violent weather is not very good for Iowa. Look at the map, look at the thing. We're going to see more of that kind of thing. We're also going to see droughts in Iowa. You're going to see more droughts. You're going to have some colder winters. You're going to have a lot of warmer winters. What we're talking about doing is destabilizing and making more chaotic and more violent the global weather system. Human beings can adjust to almost anything. They can live near the Arctic. They can live in the Kalahari Desert. But they need to know what the weather is going to be. And what global warming means is we won't know with as much certainty what the weather is going to be. That's the scary part.
Mr. Pope, it's always enlightening to hear you speak and sketch the general premises of what's going on in the world in environmental terms. I want to assure you, as somebody who works in economic development, that the manufacturers of Cleveland are already producing wind products as part of the supply chain, and there's certainly a lot of them would like to do a lot more of it. And having federal policy that would encourage that would be helpful, obviously. My question, however, has to do more with your political positions or the organizations, whichever it is, in terms of supporting Barack Obama. And there's an announcement yesterday, and the quote in the Plain Dealer said something about this is primarily because Mr. McCain had supported George Bush's ongoing energy policy. I'd like you to expand on that a little bit. And then I heard a rumor this morning that there was some inconsistency because the Sierra Club had some interest in oil leases or oil drilling. And I wonder if you would comment on that.
I can comment on the latter one quite quickly. We have no interests in oil leases, oil drilling. We will not take money from oil companies. We have no connection whatsoever, so we are absolutely not engaged in the business of oil in any way, so that's just a rumor. We did endorse Senator Obama this morning, and this is not political. This is I'm responding to your question. I'm not trying to turn this into a campaign rally because I don't think that's really the spirit of the Cleveland City Club, and I love the nonpartisan spirit of the Cleveland City Club, so I don't want to in any way weaken that tradition. We did look, and and I was quoted in the Wall Street Journal about 2 months ago saying we might not endorse this year because if you looked at Senator McCain's rhetoric, there was the possibility that he would really step forward and really embrace a new energy economy. Unfortunately, in the last several months, we've watched Senator McCain very closely, and he has clearly chosen that he wants to be a part of the, I will call it the Bush wing of the Republican Party. It's not the whole of the Republican Party, but there is a part of the Republican Party that believes that taking fossil fuels out of the ground is what America's all about, and it's what America will always be about. The Vice President is probably its strongest exemplar. Senator McCain has had a love-hate relationship with that part of the Republican Party, but over the last month he has clearly decided, and I don't want to judge his reasons because I don't know his reasons, but he has clearly decided that he is much more comfortable than he historically has been embracing the positions of the pro-oil wing of the Republican Party, and he is much less comfortable with his own previous environmental stance. So he has been a major disappointment. Senator Obama, on the other hand, has been very, very consistent. Senator Obama gets the new economy. He's committed to it. It's wonderful that there's manufacturing going on. But I don't think there's anything wrong with American manufacturers. I want to be very clear. I think that the moment the government gets out of the way, American entrepreneurs are ready to embrace the future. But the government needs to get out of the way. I think Senator Obama understands that. I don't think, unfortunately, Senator McCain seems to be stuck back in the 1970s.